My name is Heikamp. I'm from the WHU campus in Düsseldorf. I represent the full-time, part-time, as well as our global online MBA programs as the Associate Director of Admissions. Yeah, my background is kind of a bit all over the place, if you want to say. So I did my bachelor undergrad at the University of Texas in European Studies. And then I moved to Germany for personal reasons roughly 10 years ago and did a master's of literature. After that, I did a study abroad during my undergrad and always wanted to get back into education in some way. And whenever I finished my master's, there was an opening at WHU, and I just got lucky enough and have been with WHU for the past 6 years in a few different positions, but for the past 5 years with the MBA program in admissions. What I love so much about admissions is that it's so many different people. There's so many different people who can do an MBA program. That's what's great about an MBA program in general, is that an MBA program kind of is a level playing field for a lot of people who may have had an arts background or a medical background or something like that. And they can all kind of come together and learn from each other. And that's what I think is crucial about admissions, is finding those right people who can kind of be parts of a puzzle, who can create that overall picture where you can exchange with your classmates, you can learn from your professors, yes, but it's also this intimate interaction with your fellow classmates that's very important in our MBA program. So that's what I think is the most special part about admissions, that it's quite difficult to make sure that you do find the right people, and you never know until the class gets in front of you, because it is a whole process. It can take for some students 1.5 years from their application until they start. So you only know when they get there if it really works or not. We've been quite lucky that it has worked. But I think that's what's so exciting about it, is that you never know the finished product until it's right in front of you. Once you submit your application, we're a team of 4 who work on the applications for all of our MBA programs. So once you submit your application, you can expect a response from us within roughly 10 days, depending on when you apply. If you apply right at the deadline, it might take a little bit longer. That's why we encourage people to apply a bit before the deadline, just so that you have a prompt response from us. So we respond within roughly 10 days, and we evaluate the applications first based off of the hard facts. What do we have in front of us? You have to submit your CV, of course, because our MBA requires a minimum of 2 years professional experience. You also need to submit all of your previous academic records so we can see how you perform academically. We also have what we call an MBA questionnaire, which is a few short essays. They're not long at all. They dig into your motivation, what you want to do after the MBA, because most of the people, of course, might want to make some sort of professional change through an MBA program. And then we evaluate these, and we see, based off of this first evaluation, do we feel like it's a fit based off of these? And then if so, we would invite you to an interview where we really get to have a hands-on feeling for how this person could fit into the class that we're recruiting for our MBA program. So the interview is a chance for us to confirm what we see in front of us, or if in an interview it comes out that person-wise it's just not the right fit, we have to make that decision, because we don't want, at the end of the day, a person to be dissatisfied with the MBA program because they spend a year, they go away from their careers for a whole year, and they're looking to get something out of it. But we also need to make sure that this person is not going to be wrong for the group, because we need to make sure we have a cohesive group of people that can and want to learn from each other and have enriching experiences with each other. So if we have a feeling that this person is not going to be the right fit for that, then we would make that choice to not include this person. We do a lot of more soft skill assessment in the interview. So we do a lot of digging deeper to understand the motivation, also why people want to come to Germany for an MBA, because we have roughly 85% international students in our MBA program, and Germany is a different location to come to. Why do you want to come to Germany? Why do you want to start to move here for your MBA program? Because also a lot of our students then establish their career in Germany post MBA. So what is the motivation in coming to Germany for an MBA program? We also want to better understand what their ambitions have been so far. Like, where did they go so far in their career, but where are they looking to transition? Because in an MBA program, you're looking to change something about your career. be this the location if it's just why Germany, but it could also be that they want to transition from a marketing function to maybe a financial function. And how do they want to do that? How can the MBA program help them to do that? Because we ask these questions in a written form, but always whenever you talk to somebody, you can dig a little bit deeper. You can understand better what their motivations truly are and how they expect to do that through the MBA program. But we also, like I was saying earlier, to try to get a feel for, is this person the right component for us? To get a feel for how they would act in situations during the MBA program, because our program is a one-year program. It's a very intense one-year program. You're on campus Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. Your courses go quite quickly. Hopefully you're involved in student clubs. So you have a lot going on at the same time, and we want to make sure that you're the right person to fit into the MBA program. So this is kind of a bit of understanding the motivation, but a bit of understanding how do you fit into this group that we're recruiting, and what would be your individual contribution, and also what would you be able to contribute post MBA, because we don't feel that our relationship ends when you graduate. I would say in our full-time program, I would say at least 95% of the applicants want to stay in Germany. So this is why they're applying to a German school. What is great about Germany in that regard is that it has what is called a blue card, or a blue card is one aspect, but there's also a job seekers visa in Germany. So after you graduate from a university, this could be WHU, but any university in Germany, you have 18 months to stay in Germany to seek a job. So this is a great way in which Germany is trying to bring internationals into the market. So our students come here with the ambition to start their career in Germany. So this is something we consider. We always ask them, of course, their previous relationships with Germany. Have they worked maybe an internship here before? Did they do a study abroad in Germany before? Or do they have maybe family relations that are bringing them here? Or is it just something they know they want to start an international career? And Germany is one of the hearts of the European market. And this is a great place to start that career. Of course, in doing so, we need to talk to students about expectations, because of course, moving to a foreign market and wanting to stay in that market means you need to be able to adapt to that market. And one of those adaptabilities is the German language. So we do always talk very openly with all candidates about these expectations and help them to understand what it truly means to move to Germany, to start an MBA, and to then continue your career here. A few years ago, when we were kind of overhauling what our whole evaluation process looks like, we were meeting with the admissions department, the program, as well as the career center, because these are all vital parts for us in the student life cycle. So we want to understand what is important for each area. What do we need to consider when we look at these applications? And the Career Center gave us the perspectives of careers in the German job market. What is important for employers in Germany to be able to evaluate these international candidates? How can a German HR person see from first glance that this is a quality candidate? Of course, having WHU on their CV is a great addition, but what else can they have? So we do take a look at these key components. What is important in the German job market? We look at big names on the CVs. Are these DAX companies? Are these maybe Fortune 500 companies? The way in which they can see, okay, even if they worked, for example, for Mercedes, but in India, it's still a very reputable job to have, and this would sell well on the German job market. Also, what is really important in Germany is kind of progression, obviously, but relationship to a company, that you're not every year switching employer, that you're not just kind of hopping around, that you're building a relationship with your employer, because that's, in that way, the German market is fairly traditional, that they do like having these relationships with their employer. So this is something that we do consider when we evaluate candidates. And the Career Center not only gave us this insight into how we do the evaluations, they're also part of the deciding factor whenever we decide on applications. So standardized testing is part of an MBA application. We do have the requirement to submit a GRE or a GMAT. We accept both equally. We do not preference one over the other, but we then do the soft skill assessment separately. So for us, we look for a GMAT score around 600, but this doesn't mean that if you submit a score of 550 that you're automatically out, because we look at what are the other qualities do you bring? Maybe you've performed really well in your career and you didn't have time to dedicate to studying for one of these tests, but we don't see that as the only quality we need to look for, because we've also done some evaluations where we've seen maybe some of the stronger GMAT participants in our program are not the strongest academically at the end of the day. So we understand that this is kind of a give and take. So it's not the only factor we consider with regards to how we look at a candidate. We don't have our own test, but we accept both GMAT and GRE. So our admissions application does not have a fee. We don't feel like we need to charge our candidates a fee because it's an extra hurdle that it places in front of them. And we hope that an MBA is accessible to as many people as possible. Because like you just said, all these steps along the way cost something, and they've invested a lot of time in their career. They've invested a lot of time in their first education. They've invested a lot of time to make all of these things stand out, that we don't feel it's justified to also then charge an application fee. We haven't up until this point. So my number one tip, and I say this quite often in interviews too, is open-mindedness to what an MBA can be. Because a lot of people have an idea, this is my career path, this is where I want to go, and this is how I'm going to get there. That's great, but don't forget to take off those blinders. Don't forget to understand when you're sitting in your marketing class, getting input from an industry expert, the input they're having, don't ignore that because you think you know where you want to go. Understand that an MBA has so many different facets to it that can really open up and turn on light bulbs that you didn't even know were turned off. So that's not part of the application process, but that's part of the MBA program. And doing that, going into the admissions process with an open mind, helps to truly be ready to the start of the MBA program and to understand the transition and the development that you'll go throughout an MBA. So as I said in the beginning, we do have 3 MBA programs. The full-time and part-time, their cohort is fairly similar besides the internationality of it. So our part-time program is a weekend-based program, meaning that the candidates come to our campus roughly 2 weekends a month. So for that factor, we need candidates who are most likely in Germany or the Benelux region. So this means there is only around 40 to 45% international candidates of a class of 90, which is very good for the German market. Whereas if you look at our full-time program, it is a year-long program, Monday to Friday, like I said, and there we have around 85% international students. So that's the major difference between those 2 programs. However, like class profile, as in academic background or professional backgrounds, they're very, very similar. We don't have any one academic background that is a majority in any of our MBA programs, which goes to reflect like I said earlier, the leveling of the playing field by bringing in all of these different types of backgrounds. We have students with a medical background, we have students with a law background, we have students with a business background, but we have none of those make up a majority of the class. Also, when it comes from industries, WHU has a lot of connections within industry in Germany. So a lot of the representation in our class reflects that. We don't always have one industry representing heavily over another. It is fairly equally represented, which also represents where they go post MBA, because this does stay fairly evenly split. We're not an MBA program that focuses purely on the finance sector, for example. That's not what is best represented in our class. If you look at the online MBA program in comparison, it is a little bit older. So they're around 35 years old versus 30 on average, and they are a little bit more experienced. So they're the ones looking more to develop their career than to make drastic changes. But there we still have a very equal representation among the academic and industrial I think what's special about the MBA program at WHU is that it's very much a community atmosphere. WHU is a small university. We've been around since the mid-'80s. We started very small in a town called Koblenz, which is actually north of Koblenz, called Fallender, which is a few hours north of Frankfurt, but a few hours south of Düsseldorf. And the campus in Düsseldorf was created in 2012. So we've only been here this year, 10 years. And we are a very small community. We have a full-time intake of roughly 80 students a year, a part-time of roughly 90, and an online of roughly 40. So this is a very intimate environment that the students come to know. And you really create a second family on campus. I don't say this only for the students, it's amongst the entire staff, faculty, students on campus. We're all on a first name basis. With myself as an international, I appreciate it very much. It's very non-German in that regard. And I think that's what's so special about coming to WHU is that you really feel like we know who you are, we know what you're looking for, and we know how to help you make that happen. And that's what I think is so special about what happens at WHU is that, yeah, you feel like you're a person who's seen and heard the whole way through.